People love comparing comic book characters, whether it's having a debate in the back of a comic book store about who could best who, or an infinite crisis of civil wars that takes place every 6 months. Sizing up your favorite superheroes and villains is always fun. From their comic book beginnings to their current big screen adaptations, Spider-Man, the Hulk, and the Joker are 3 of the most iconic fictional characters out there, who seemingly have very little in common other than their sequential art origins. Yet, they're more alike than you may realize. Be sure to share this video with your friends so everyone can learn the similarities between these classic comic book characters. Are you kidding me? You still haven't subscribed to CBR's YouTube channel? How many awesome videos have you missed just because you forgot one click? Starting today, that number can be 0. Subscribe now. Hollywood Heroes. Upon learning that your favorite comic book characters are receiving a live-action adaptation, it's okay to feel a sense of trepidation. You've spent decades flipping through the pages of their books. Your imagination creates the details not provided. The stories between the panels, ensuring a unique version for each reader. All 3 of our subjects today have been portrayed on the big screen with varying degrees of success. The Joker was the first to make a silver screen debut, played by the wispy-mustached Cesar Romero, reprising the role from the popular TV series commonly referred to as Batman 66. Spider-Man technically was released a decade after the Joker, appearing in theaters, but not in the United States. First in Europe as repurposed footage from the short-lived television series, The Amazing Spider-Man, which aired for 1 year in 1977. It starred Nicholas Hammond, better known as Friedrich von Trapp from The Sound of Music, as the titular wall crawler. Another version of the web-slinger appeared a year later in Japan, a spin-off of the popular Japanese TV series from the Toei Company. The movie had Spidey piloting a giant robot. The idea of a costumed teenage hero using giant mechanical objects to fight apparently left an impression, as it was later used in the series Super Sentai, which became the Power Rangers for American audiences. The Incredible One didn't make his feature film debut until 2003's Hulk, starring Australian actor Eric Bana as the temper tantrum having Bruce Banner. Directed by Ang Lee, the film received mixed reviews, and Dr. Banner was recast twice in future appearances. A-list actors. As Warner Brothers was putting together its version of Batman in 1989, it cast Michael Keaton as the Dark Knight and wanted some serious star power to play opposite him. They chose Jack Nicholson, who turned in perhaps the most iconic film version of the Clown Prince of Crime, combining Romero's prankster Joker with a dash of the more maniacal version that was popular in the comics. 20 years after that, Heath Ledger gave the world a chilling and mesmerizing version of the Jester of Genocide, receiving an Oscar posthumously for his adaptation. The most current version appeared in 2016's Suicide Squad, with Jared Leto portraying a very modern and heavily criticized version of the Joker. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man had a rebirth after the turn of the century, starring in 6 films, with his 7th, Spider-Man Homecoming, launching this summer. 3 actors portrayed him during the past 2 decades, starting with Tobey Maguire, followed by Andrew Garfield, and is currently portrayed by Tom Holland. Edward Norton helped rewrite and star as Bruce Banner in the reboot called The Incredible Hulk in 2008 as part of the MCU. He received mixed reviews, and it was Norton's only appearance as the gamma-powered superhero. The Hulk reappeared several years later, this time played by Mark Ruffalo and as part of the MCU. He's currently still playing Bruce Banner, possibly the more calm half of the Science Bros. Small screen supers. You may not believe this, but there was a time when, and I'm throwing up big old air quotes now, comic books were just for kids, end air quotes. If you wanted to learn about superheroes, you went to your local comic store and read a book or 5. TV executives wanted to capture the children's attention and the parents' dollars, and decided to bring the tights and capes to television. Spider-Man and Hulk both made their debut in animated form in the late 60s and received live-action adaptations in the late 70s. The Joker was first played by Romero in 1966, and then appeared as an animated character a few years later. He's appeared numerous times since then, including teaching Batman how to use OnStar and trying to stump Scooby-Doo and his pals. He also has clearly inspired Jerome Valeska in the Fox series Gotham. Though he had his own series, Spider-Man's first live-action appearance came courtesy of PBS Television and the children's show The Electric Company. Over a dozen of the Super Spidey Stories sketches aired, using a Spider-Man that only communicated via word balloons to encourage the kids to read. Spider-Man mostly appears in animated forms, starring in over a dozen different series over the last 50 years. Perhaps the most memorable to have their own show is the Hulk. He showed up a few times in the late 60s in in animated form, but came to his own during the 1978 Incredible Hulk series starring Bill Bixby as David Banner and bodybuilder Lou Ferrigno as a green spray-painted Hulk. The producers changed Dr. Banner's first name from Bruce because they weren't fans of the alliterative names commonly used in comics. The show lasted 5 seasons, producing more than a few memorable moments, but its lasting legacy may be the way each show ended, with Dr. Banner still searching for whatever he was searching for and hitchhiking his way out of town as the world's most over-dramatic music played. It's a scene that's been parodied many times, including on Family Guy. Animated excellence. If you ask fans of either Spider-Man, Hulk, or the Joker what their favorite on-screen version is, almost everyone is going to answer with an animated version. Some current love has been thrown towards Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner and Tom Holland's Peter Parker, but despite the most recent attempts, a cartoon version of the character is usually agreed on as the most faithful adaptation. Hulk fans point towards Hulk vs., one of the 8 films from the early Marvel animated features, with particular enjoyment for voice actor Fred Tatasciore guttural performance. Spider-Man fans usually agree that Spectacular Spider-Man, which aired on the CW and Disney XD in 2008 and 2009, is the bee's knees. The show combined creators Steve Ditko and Stan Lee's original version with the highly popular Ultimates version, written by Brian Michael Bendis. For older fans, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, the Saturday morning cartoon in the early 80s, is the best version of the web crawler. The series found teenage Peter Parker battling bad guys with Iceman and a character created for the show, Firestar. It was so popular, writer Dan Slott paid homage to the show, bringing the trio into the comic book world and then killing them off with the numerous alternate Spider-Man and women as part of his Spider-Verse series. Unfortunately, Miss Lion, their Yippee Lhasa Apso, survived. While arguments could be made for the most popular version of Hulk and Spider-Man, one animated adaptation seemingly remains above all else: Mark Hamill's Joker. It began in Batman the Animated Series. Airing on Fox Kids in the early 90s, the show to this day has one of the best versions of the Caped Crusader around, voiced by Kevin Conroy, and his slightly insane recurring antagonist, voiced by Hamill. While Conroy is loved, Hamill's maniacal and malevolent laugh is treasured. Mark Hamill became famous thanks to playing one-time moisture farmer Luke Skywalker, but his version of the Joker will be his lasting legacy to comic fans. Wonderful toys. In 1989's Batman, the Joker wonders where Batman gets all his wonderful toys. It's a fun line, but the reality is the Joker's been known to have some great gadgets himself. He's found a way to make even the most innocent things deadly, such as an electronic toy buzzer, playing cards, boxing gloves, and a fake toy gun. Peter Parker was created as a science nerd to appeal to the kids who mostly read comic books, letting them know that sometimes big brains could beat big muscles. He began by inventing his own web shooters, and he just kept on inventing, including various versions of his own Spider-Mobile. While the Hulk primarily relied on his brawn to solve issues, his more human half, Bruce Banner, was a genius scientist. Throughout his entire history, Banner has been working towards finding a way to calm the inner beast, creating numerous inventions to monitor his anger or even find a way to stop the Hulk from ever appearing. Duplicate deaths. Everything eventually dies is a fact. A pretty darn depressing fact, but a fact nonetheless. In the world of superheroes and villains, death is constantly hanging over those that put themselves in jeopardy. Thankfully, comics are fiction, and in their world, dying doesn't mean forever. You're allowed to come back once you've milked the media attention of the death. All 3 of our trio has died in the comics at some point. Actually, most have died multiple times. Some deaths lasted years, while others were reversed to the next issue. The Hulk has died a few times. Well, technically Bruce Banner has died the most, including a particularly gruesome death at the hands of Deadpool, who chopped the noggin off of a sleeping Banner. In fact, Bruce Banner is dead in the current timeline of Marvel Comics. He took an arrow to the head at his own request from Hawkeye. His death not exactly helping the situation that is Civil War II. Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker, has done the mortal coil shuffle more than once. His luck's run out many times, a life lesson to be learned as he manages to somehow survive. The Joker? He's died a lot. At least appearing to be dead after a huge fall, or having serious injuries to his face, or possibly being offed at the hands of Batman himself, as some interpreted from the last page of Alan Moore's The Killing Joke. His many deaths could be attributed to the fact that he was supposed to be a one-shot character. He actually died by stabbing himself in the heart in his very first appearance in Batman #1 in 1940. His death was overruled by the editor, giving the Joker the first in a long line of chances to rise from the grave. Guess the joke really was on him. Split personalities. Beneath the masks, or under the green gamma-infected skin, is a human. A person born to parents and given a name. Most know Peter Parker to be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but throughout his history, he wasn't the only person to learn that with great power comes great responsibility. Miles Morales is current Spider-Man on Earth 616, the main Marvel universe. There's also been Parker's clone Ben Reilly, a Spidey from 2099, and even a talking pig named Peter Porker. The Hulk has almost always been Bruce Banner, but along the way, several more gamma-powered entities surfaced, like General Thunderbolt Ross as Red Hulk, Abomination, and Doc Samson. However, due to the recent death of Bruce Banner during Civil War II, the Hulk is embodied by the totally awesome, 7th smartest person on Earth, Amadeus Cho. Batman has been trying to give a name to his arch-nemesis for years, but never found his true one. DC teased his true identity being revealed during its recent Rebirth storyline, with Batman asking the Mobius chair the Joker's real name, and he apparently received an answer he could not believe. The answer was then later revealed to not actually be an answer. Turns out there are 3 Jokers, or he's immortal, or some other comic booky non-answer. The color purple. No, none of the 3 appeared in 1982's novel The Color Purple, or the 1985 adaptation starring Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah Winfrey. Something tells me that their presence might take away from the seriousness of that story. What the 3 do have in common is the actual color, purple. When the characters were created, Joker in 1940, Hulk and Spider-Man in 1962, comic book printing used a primitive method of the 4-color process. By changing the percentage of each color, yellow, cyan, magenta, and black, on the page, they could present a variety of colors, though the actual printing of the comics wouldn't always allow an artistic vision to come to fruition. Hence, the original design for a gray Hulk was switched to green after a few issues. While darker colors usually appeared black on the page, if you went with a brighter purple, it typically published in the correct hue. The initial coloring of the Joker gave him his greenish hair, so purple was used to make his white face and green hair really pop off the page. The Hulk is in a similar situation. When the Hulk debuted, he had blue pants to offset his gray skin. Once he went green, purple became the color of choice for his pants because it complemented the green so well. Spider-Man has never actually been purple. Well, maybe in some of Steve Ditko's more psychedelic drawings. But his base outfit colors, red and blue, are the core colors that make up purple. Plus, several of Spidey's early foes were very into violet hues, including the aptly named Purple Man, as well as Mysterio's iconic cape. Cold-blooded killers. Superheroes don't kill is a common mantra, especially when comic books first began. As the readers, along with the writers and artists, got older, good guys killing bad guys, or other good guys, started happening. The Joker has killed lots of people, and a few more on top of that for good measure. It's kind of what he does. Spider-Man is probably one of the nicest heroes around, but even he has had to make some hard choices, including his origin story. While he technically didn't kill his Uncle Ben, his refusal to stop a robbery led to Ben's death, one that always haunts Peter, and inspired a wicked meme, and is a moment that created his superhero identity. On top of that, there's a little more blood on his hands from various issues of Marvel Team-Up, including a time he accidentally killed Drom the Backwards Man with Iron Fist by destroying the mirror he was trapped in. Surprisingly, the least amount of on-panel deaths in the comics is the Hulk. While he's rampaging, it's safe to assume that the mean green one kills at least a few dozen people, but it's not always confirmed. In various alternate realities, though, the Hulk has been used as a lethal weapon to destroy everyone. In the Future Imperfect run, a time-traveling Hulk attempts to stop himself from turning into Maestro, who kills a whole lot of Avengers. In the Ultimates line of comics, a better question to ask is who the Hulk didn't kill. Staying power. Unless your comic book knowledge runs super deep, you'll be forgiven for not knowing that Spider-Man once teamed up with Frogman. He was a man that put on his dad's frog suit to fight crime. His pops was the poorly named villain Leapfrog, so to make up for his father's felonies, Frogman decided to fight crime and try to make the world a better place. He sadly does not have his own movie or under ruse. Having staying power like the Joker, the Hulk, and Spider-Man doesn't always happen, so it's pretty awesome that we're still talking about them today. Spider-Man and the Hulk began in 1962, created by Stan Lee with Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby. While they're revered today, they were simply made up by people in a smoke-filled office building. Dudes in cubicles trying to sell comic books to pay their bills and feed their kids. The Joker's origins go back even farther, with Batman creators Bill Finger and Bob Kane, along with Jerry Robinson bringing the iconic bad guy to life because Batman needed someone to fight back in 1940. Since they've been created, hundreds, if not thousands of comic book characters have been made. Some also have had success, since there is a comic book themed movie opening almost every few weeks, but few are as popular today, maybe even more so, than when they were created like these three are.
Gotta say, that's awesome.
Well, there you have it. 3 different comic book characters that seemingly didn't have much in common. However, when you start to dig deep into their past, you find out that they're more alike than you realized. Are they alike in ways that we missed? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to CBR's channel so you don't miss any more awesome videos.